Hello and welcome to The Appointment. I'm Pranjal Sharma. Joining me today for a conversation is Guillaume Sicard, who is the president of Nissan India Operations. Guillaume, thank you for being with us on the show.
Thank you very much.
Nissan is a very popular brand in India, and Indians have known about it for many years, though your operations in India are relatively young. How has been the journey of Nissan in India in the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, I think it's a very short journey because we arrived in India with our plant 6 years ago, so it's a very short journey. So far, I think we are learning about the market. We're progressing in this market from 0% market share to 2% market share today in a bit more than 5 years. But I think what is important is that we get the feeling in Nissan, be it here in India but also in Japan, that we do understand more and more the expectation in the Indian market, the expectation of our customers, the way we need to structure the network. So I think it's a learning curve that is extremely accelerated that we're going through, and I think so far it's quite positive.
Did you find it difficult to talk about Nissan as a brand in India?
In India, you have one major brand, automotive brand, who is dominating quite like 50% of the market share. So when you arrive in this market, you need to find some space for you, and it's quite a challenge. Even though Nissan resonates for some people, and I'm talking about global people that are traveling to the US, Middle East, okay, Nissan does mean something, but for all the other people, actually, Nissan didn't mean so much. So we had to work a lot on the awareness, and this is what we have worked on over the last 5 years, actually, making sure that when people think of buying a new car, they think about Nissan. They probably don't know exactly what we sell, they probably don't know exactly the cars and the specs and the price, but what we want to make sure is, oh, okay, I've heard about this brand, it's Japanese, it's reliable, it's good quality, I'm going to go and have a look. So, and this is only for Nissan, but what we have done, we have increased the challenge because 2.5 years ago, we have launched a second brand, which is Datsun.
From my years of growing up in the 80s, that Datsun was a very popular brand in India, and everybody who could import a vehicle would prefer to go for a Datsun. But was it the same experience for you in India for Datsun as well, that you had to, while some people knew about it, but establishing the history of Datsun was an important objective?
No, very few people knew Datsun. And if you do a survey today, you have about 1% out of 10 in the market to buy a car that knows about Datsun. So it's still extremely minimal. Only people knew about Datsun, people from the south, and people from Kerala, for example, people that were extremely connected to Middle East. Yes, they do know Datsun because Datsun was a very popular brand. It was one of the leading brands in Middle East. It was the #1 brand in many countries in Africa. It was a leading brand in the US, in Japan as well. So people that are very exposed, they knew about Datsun. But globally, in India, the awareness is extremely limited. So what we have to do with Datsun, not only with Nissan, but with Datsun as well, is to make sure that we were top of mind, especially for the people that want to access to the automotive market.
When people come to look at Nissan, do they look at Datsun as well? Or when they come to look at Datsun, do they look at Nissan? How does it work out for you at the showrooms?
That's a very interesting question. I think people first are going to come for a specific brand. They've heard about the Terrano, they've heard about the Micra, so they are going to go to discover the Nissan range. And while they are in the showroom, actually, they are also going to understand that we do the Datsun Go, that we do a 7-seater Datsun Go Plus at 4 lakhs, and that we do the Ready Go as from 2.5 lakhs. So they are going to open up and understand. But they were coming actually for Nissan. Same thing, some other people are coming for the Ready Go, for example. They look at the cars, but they see Nissan as well. So sometimes they can feel like maybe I can escalate to a Micra, but there is a huge gap in terms of price, but I want this and this feature, so they can actually switch. But at the beginning, they come for very specific choice, and they had something very clear in mind.
How different is your strategy for marketing these in India as distinct from in other markets?
I think globally the Nissan strategy is a very global strategy. We don't make that much difference, and the more we will go within the next few months and years, the more you will see Nissan global, that is to say Nissan US, Nissan Middle East, Nissan Japan. You will see exactly the same Nissan in India. So this is why, for example, we are launching the Nissan GT-R. This is why we will launch beginning of next year the Nissan X-Trail Hybrid, because those cars represent actually the best of technology, the best of quality and know-how of Nissan. So Nissan is a global brand. We're just bringing some successful products. We bring them in India, be it manufactured locally or be it in CBU at the beginning. So this is what we are doing. However, Datsun is a bit different because Datsun answers to a specificity of the Indian market, which means that we have a lot of new entrants. We have a lot of new people with buying power increasing, and we need to answer to their needs. And Nissan is probably too mature as a product, so we need a first level of entry. And this is where actually we're proposing Datsun. Datsun is very good in terms of quality, in terms of technology, in terms of fuel efficiency, because this is very important, in terms of space, and in terms of ground clearance. So this is what the risers and the newcomers to the market want. And with Datsun, we do answer to those specificities and those expectations from this specific market.
And this is when you have one more brand coming into your group, which is Mitsubishi. So that's going to make life even more interesting for you.
Well, I mean, if you go that route today, before talking about Mitsubishi, we have Renault, which is part of the family,
yes,
as you know. So we co-work with Renault in many countries. Actually, globally, there's a lot of alliances that we have throughout the world. And first, before talking about Mitsubishi, our implementation in India is as a family, is with Renault. So we share the plant, we share some research and development capacity, but obviously the sales and marketing is completely independent. We have our own identity, our own sales and marketing. So this is the partnership with Renault, or what we call the alliance with Renault. And it's true that we're entering into a new phase, and I would say a new chapter, if not a new book of our history, with the alliance that we are making with Mitsubishi now. It has been announced a few days ago, and we are going to work exactly like we're working with Renault. We are going to see with Mitsubishi on each and every country what kind of partnership we can have to make our brands and our companies stronger.
Guillaume, we've talked about 4 brands already. There's Nissan, of course, there's Datsun, there's Renault, which is an alliance partner, as well as Mitsubishi. But tell us about the manufacturing, which is a very big investment for any global company to make in India, especially automobile. You are manufacturing these cars for India. What has been the experience?
Well, we have started the manufacturing of our cars a bit more than 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now. We have invested so far 6,100 crores over the last 5 years. We have a capacity of 480,000 cars per year, which ranks us into the top 5 biggest auto manufacturing plant in India. So it's a very big setup. The plant this year is going to be about at 75 to 80% maximum capacity, which is in line with the industry in India. The industry is at about 75 to 80%, so we're in line. With extremely good quality. I think the first point, because we can talk about big figures, but I think the most important point is the quality of the product that are going out of our Chennai plant. We don't have only Indian customers, we have actually international customers, because all our cars are being exported to 106 countries. So we export our Micras, we export our Sunnies in 106 countries total. So believe me, we have to give the best of quality, because if I don't do so, and if the plant doesn't do so, it's not only the Indian customers who's going to complain, but the rest of the world is going to complain as well. So our standards in terms of quality are international standards, and this is probably one of the key reasons for success of Nissan in India, is that level of quality.
That's important, Guillaume, because there is a perception that some automobile companies in India who are manufacturing in India, they have one set of quality for India and another set for their exports, and they justify it by saying that the Indian standards are different and the global standards are different. Is that justified? Yeah,
so actually, to be extremely clear on this point, the quality standards are exactly the same. Now, in terms of regulation, the regulation is not 100% the same. So we do some adaptation, obviously, to fit into Euro 6 market. And in India, we're not Euro 6 yet, we're equivalent of Euro 4. So we do adapt, obviously, to the specific regulations. But the quality is exactly the same. All the cars are built on the same line, with the same person, with the same material. So it's exactly the same thing.
But
and
issues like passenger safety and emission, there is a difference between different countries. But
yes, there is a difference, yeah.
Do auto companies, and I'm not just talking about you, do auto companies, should they go for the best practice or should they look at only that market?
I think what we do, and I'm talking about Nissan, what we do is we do answer to all the Indian regulations when we manufacture in India for the Indian market. And I think this is what most of manufacturers are doing. Obviously, we are working to upgrade, being in line with the requirements of the legislator, of the norms that are requested by the Indian government. So we do work in that direction. We have the technology, because today actually we do, for example, talking about Euro 6, we do manufacture cars that are Euro 6, but we have to be aware that doing a car that is Euro 6 versus a Euro 4 car is an increase of about 15% of the manufacturing cost of the car. So what we are doing, we are adapting step by step to make sure that we increase the level of I would say, regulation of the car, keeping the price as down as possible. So this is what all the OEMs are doing, all the manufacturers are doing.
Do you think that you mentioned emission norms are at global standards? You also have plans for hybrid vehicles in India. My question to you is that do you see hybrid and electric vehicles becoming mass market products in a country like India? Even, let's say, the entry-level car that you're talking about for the risers, for those who are transitioning from a two-wheeler to a four-wheeler, how long will it take for that to become a popular product?
So I think we need a lot of time to discuss on this point, honestly. It's a subject by itself. I think, yes, this is the future. Electric mobility, what we call zero emission mobility, is the future of mobility. This is for sure. When is it going to arrive on the planet, and when is it going to arrive generally on the planet and in India? It's not very short term. Why? The first reason is the technology is still extremely expensive. Batteries are expensive, especially, so we need to keep on working on the battery to increase the autonomy, to decrease the weight, and to decrease the manufacturing cost. Year after year, actually, those parameters are improving, but we're not at the level today where we can match exactly a thermic engine. We're not there yet, but progress are being made. The second point that is very important, you can have an electric car, but what is the electric car means that you don't want to produce any emission, but you have to check where your electricity is coming from. So if you live in a country where your electricity is coming from coal, which is mainly the case in India, actually you're just moving the issue. That is to say, your car is going to be clean, but to have this electricity, you're going to generate a lot of pollution. So it's the whole ecosystem that you need to work on. And this is what the government is doing today, promoting renewable energy, solar energy especially, to make sure that first we produce clean energy, decreasing coal as much as we can. And this is why I'm extremely proud that India has signed the COP21, because actually we are engaging into that direction to produce clean energy. And once we start to produce clean energy, then after the link with car would be actually very natural and extremely efficient. In that time, we need to keep on improving the technology. We have the technology, but we need to make it more affordable. And at the same time, we need to develop the infrastructure. Because obviously, electric car works. If you have the right infrastructure, you need to have charging station. So it's the whole ecosystem that is important. I repeat, making sure that we produce, as Indians, clean energy. We decrease the manufacturing cost of electric cars and hybrid cars. And we have good infrastructure to make sure that people can use it freely and with no hassle.
But in the short term, you made a very important point, because people forget that you may have a clean zero emission car, but the coal plant is going to create that much of smoke and the carbon footprint would be higher. But hybrids, do you see that increasing as a market segment in India?
Yes, I think people are more and more sensitive actually to those issues, and hybrid, and you can see, is going to be a trend in the next few years. It's not the ultimate solution, because hybrid is a very complex technology, because you have a motor and an engine, which means that in terms of manufacturing an hybrid is not the cheapest way to do it. But it's probably a good intermediate solution between the full thermic engine that we have right now and the full electric. I think it's an interesting solution in the meantime. Then after, also we have probably leaders of opinion that are going to be extremely interested in hybrid, even though cars are expensive, because if you look at the hybrids that are offered in the market today, they are above 30, 35 lakhs, so they are expensive. But it's a good thing that leaders of opinion start to use those cars, show off, because it stimulates the whole ecosystem to show to the people, the government, the deciders, that this is probably the right direction. So I'm promoting hybrid, I'm promoting electric. I'm just saying that in terms of time, this will take some time. And once again, we need to have a global view of the overall ecosystem.
Guillaume, Indian market is changing in many different ways, in some ways with the rest of the world, especially if you look at how car sharing companies have made an impact for mobility. How do you see the Indian market evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I think from a macro point of view, I see a bright future for the automotive market. Just imagine today we have a bit less than 20 cars for 1,000 inhabitants in India. So it means that today, India with 20 cars for 1,000 inhabitants has got a huge potential of growth. We are the number 5 market in the world today. We are going to become in the next few years, maybe 3 years, the number 3 automotive market in the world, right after China and right after the US. So a bright future, the macroeconomics are good, people want to consume cars and want freedom and want mobility, and there is a potential because we don't have that many cars.
But there is also the view that a lot of people will not buy cars because they would prefer to go for the aggregator option.
Sure, and I think this is right. I think there is solutions for everybody. When you are in such a situation, it means that the market will grow, but the market will not grow only on one direction. You will still have people that actually want their own freedom. They want to possess their car, they want to have a car, and ownership is very important, and they want their own mobility, and they want 100% freedom. So we will have those people that actually are going to select and buy their own cars. But still, you will have people that have, parking issues, that are affordability issues, and do not want to own their own cars. They will go for aggregators. And here again, the automotive industry anyway will have to sell to aggregators. And this is what we have started to do today. We work with various aggregators, be it Ola, be it Uber, be it U2. So we work with all those people, and we work at the same time with individuals and with companies as well. So I think the talent is going to be for the OEM and the manufacturers to be able to answer to all those categories of customers, including aggregators that have very specific needs because they use their cars 16 to 18 hours per day.
As a seller and producer of these mobility devices, if I can call that, where do you see the market changing in terms of what percentage would be owned by individuals and what percentage would be owned by aggregators? Do you have any figure to go with?
It's very difficult to answer to this question today. Everything will depend about many other factors, how those companies are going to inject actually cash to be able to buy their own fleet, because it cannot be based only on self-driving. I mean, those drivers that are actually partnering with Ola and Uber. So it depends on this. It depends on the infrastructure, because if we manage to develop and the cities manage to develop the infrastructure, actually people are going to say, okay, I can own my own car because I have clear infrastructure and I can park and I can drive easily. So everything will depend. But for sure, the weight of aggregators will keep on increasing within the next few years. All countries are looking at this. All countries have got relationship with those aggregators. All countries are making sure that we can answer with the right product to those aggregators. So there is a lot of discussions, ongoing discussion worldwide. Some manufacturers are financially partnering with those companies, as you know. So there is a lot of business models that are being tested today.
There is a lot of effort of the government in the last 2 years to focus on ease of doing business. How has that impacted Nissan, and how do you see it developing for you?
When we invested in India, we thought it was actually a full market, a closed market. I mean, it was a single market. But actually, very quickly, when you start to meet with the administration, with the ministers, you understand very quickly that actually you invested in a state. and not in a country. So that's something that, and I was explaining that to various people over in headquarters, being in France or in Japan, and I was giving them the example for Europeans. It's like when you invest in Europe, actually you invest in a specific country. You invest in France, you invest in Italy, but it doesn't exist to invest in Europe. And I was surprised actually to see for India that you invest in Tamil Nadu, you invest in Maharashtra, in Gujarat, but actually the country itself is not so important. So I think I would like India to evolve into that direction. I would like to really feel that we invest in the federal state, in the country India. And I think what Mr. Modi is doing, especially through the GST, is really showing that direction, that India is becoming one single market. And for the ease of doing business, the ease of understanding, especially for the foreigners, who don't have that culture, that multi-culture of so many states, so many languages, different legislation, regulations everywhere. I think it will definitely ease the understanding, the reading of what's going on in India, and definitely will ease the business. And GST, once again, is probably the main key and the ignition of this new India and this new single India to promote business.
Final thought and question to you, Guillaume. You said 2% of the market share in India today. Where would you like your group in Nissan India with your three brands? I'm not including Renault in this, but Datsun, Nissan and Mitsubishi to be in the next 10 years.
Sure. I'm going to talk only about Nissan and Datsun, Nissan Corporation. I think the first step is to achieve 5% by 2020. And I think when I see the understanding that we have of the market, when I see the success of our Ready Go, when I see that today the second fastest growing brand in India, I think it's very much possible to start from 2% today and grow to 5% by 2020. To achieve that, we'll work on various things. The first thing is launch of new products. We love new products and we love newness in India, and we will deliver for our customers, be it on the Nissan front, on the Datsun front, in the next few years up to 2020 with a full new set of products. And we also are going to grow our network because India is a huge country and we need to make sure that we have network that is everywhere in the country and of a good quality. So we will develop those two aspects to make sure that we can first achieve our 5% market share in India by 2020. And then after, the dream is always the same figure, is the 10%, 2 digits.
Possibility of creating brands and products only for India?
When we work on Datsun, we have a lot India in mind with some other emerging countries and fast developing countries. So there is a lot of things that I would say the Indian mindness is in our brain, probably 80% when we are developing the future of Datsun. Once again, Datsun is going to be extremely local, made for us, and Nissan will stay completely global, international success brought in India.
Thank you so much, Guillaume, for talking to us, and our best wishes to you.
Thank you very much.